Worldwide, 285 million people are blind or visually impaired. 80% of that blindness is avoidable. A simple operation can restore sight. But for many, the cost of treatment is simply too high. Here in South India, in a city called Madurai, Aravind has been working to turn those economics around. When people walk into an Aravind eye hospital, they have a choice, whether to pay for treatment or to receive it for free.
The vision and the mission of Aravind is to eliminate needless blindness. Anybody can walk in, whether he's a rich or a poor, educated or uneducated, anybody will be treated in the same way with dignity.
No one is turned away, and patients do not have to wait for treatment.
Aravind does not work on an appointment system. Whoever comes across gets seen on that day. We never make a patient wait or come again for things that can be done on the same day.
Collectively, Aravind's network of hospitals see over 12,000 patients and perform 1,500 operations each day. The quality of treatment is the same for both paying and free patients. In this model, revenue from each paying patient supports treatment for 2 free surgeries. Aravind does not depend on donations or government support. Patient income funds all its growth and expansion. Their mission is to make the highest quality eye care available to anyone who needs it, rich or poor. Today, a streamlined workflow, rigorous systems, and a mindset of frugality enable Aravind to perform over 200,000 free surgeries each year.
It should be affordable to everyone. Everyone who has eyes must have a sight.
When Aravind first opened its doors and offered free service, it discovered another barrier to access. Many patients lived in rural settings, far away from a hospital. They could not afford the cost of the journey. Since these patients could not come to Aravind, Aravind went to them. A series of eye camps were launched in rural areas.
The camp is basically an outreach program. So we come to the places which are not easily accessible. We do a screening for them, and the patients that require surgery, we'll take them back to the base hospital, do a surgery free of cost, and bring them back here.
This woman has a cataract in her left eye.
கீழே பாருங்கம்மா நம்ம புற ரொம்ப இருக்கு சரியா அதனால பின்னாடி நரம்பு எப்படி இருக்குன்னு இப்ப சொல்ல முடியாது
களவட்ட போனாரு காய் கஷ்டப்பட்டு போனாரு அது நறுவிட்டா வேலை செஞ்சா தானே வாங்குவாங்க ஒரு காட்டுக்கே போனாரு திருப்பி போட்டு விட்டுருவோம் அதே அப்புறம் கொஞ்சம் மங்களம் தெரியுதுங்கள இருட்டாகிட்டா கொஞ்சம் தடுமாறிக்கிட்டு விழுந்துட்டு என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னு வீட்டுக்கு வந்தார்
சரியா அப்ப அந்த கண்ணு பண்ண மாதிரி எல்லாம் இந்த கண்ணு இப்போ அந்த கண்ணு இப்போ கொஞ்சம் தான் இருந்தது இந்த கண்ணு இப்போ ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கு
She is one of 200 people from this village whom Aravind will bus back to the main hospital for surgery, where they will receive food, lodging, treatment, return transport and follow-up care completely free of charge.
காசு வேணுங்கிற கதை கட்டி பண்ணுறது அதனால இலவசமாக பண்ணுறது அது வழி
Today, Aravind sees over 3 million people every year, but it started from very humble beginnings. The driving force behind it was Dr. Govindappa Venkataswamy, an ophthalmologist fueled by a compassionate vision.
He set out to cure blindness, not just in his own town or the state of Tamil Nadu, but for the entire world.
Here was a man who was able to look beyond the national boundaries, the religious boundaries, and look at every person and said, why should anyone be blind in this world?
In his early 30s, Dr. V, as he was known, contracted rheumatoid arthritis, a lifelong condition that left his fingers permanently crippled.
That experience gave him a feeling of a patient. Fear, depression, anxiety, pain, looking for somebody with a smile, longing for somebody with a smile. All those things he experienced.
Despite this illness, Dr. V trained as an eye surgeon and went on to personally perform over 100,000 operations. At the age of 58, Dr. V retired as a government ophthalmologist. With his brothers and sisters, he opened an 11-bed eye clinic called Aravind to continue his work. They followed 3 simple principles. We won't turn anyone away. We won't compromise on quality. We must be self-reliant.
Dr. B had this phenomenal vision. He was able to think 20, 30, 40 years in advance when he had an 11-bedded clinic.
India is a country of over 1 billion people with less than 20,000 ophthalmologists. Dr. V knew the scale of the problem demanded a solution of appropriate magnitude. It called for the development of highly efficient systems. 40 years later, his 11-bed eye clinic is now the largest provider of eye care in the world.
எந்த கண்ணு ஆப்ரேஷன் சரி
Optimization of workflow, particularly in the operating theater, has revolutionized the number of surgeries performed.
One of the ways which continues to work very well is for each surgeon to have 2 surgical tables. The surgeon sits in the center and is able to operate upon one patient, whereas the second patient gets prepared by a support team.
When one cataract surgery is complete, the surgeon just moves across to the next cataract table. The time between surgeries is greatly reduced, and the surgeon goes from performing 1 surgery per hour to about 7 or 8 per hour.
This way, a typical surgeon at Aravind is able to perform between 1,500 and 2,000 operations a year, against a national average of 400. In 2015, Aravind treated close to 4 million patients and performed over 400,000 operations at a fraction of what it would cost in other countries. And yet, their clinical outcomes meet or exceed those of hospitals in the West.
Good girl.
That number keeps the organization financially sustainable, keeps the individual productive, and we're able to reach more in the community and provide sight.
With her operation complete, this woman will rest in the hospital for a few days.
உட்கார்ந்து படுத்துக்கோங்க பாட்டிமா சரிங்களா ரெஸ்ட் எடுங்க
மருந்துலாம் ஊத்துறாங்களா
Today, a standard cataract operation involves removing the clouded lens and inserting a synthetic intraocular lens, or IOL. But in the late 1980s, there were no IOL manufacturers in India. Lenses had to be imported from the West.
Dr. V said, I feel guilty that I am providing intraocular lens to the paying patient and I am not providing intraocular lens to the free patient. Just because the cost of imported intraocular lens costs $200. We should make intraocular lens for $10 so that we can give intraocular lens to everybody.
With no prior manufacturing experience, Aravind set itself the challenge of producing high-quality, affordable IOLs. In 1992, they opened a manufacturing facility that produced state-of-the-art IOLs and made them available for $10 a piece. Initially set up to produce intraocular lenses, Aurolab now also manufactures a wide range of high-quality ophthalmic pharmaceuticals, sutures, instruments, and equipment.
A lot of drugs which were of no commercial interest to big pharma companies because There wasn't a big enough market, especially in the West. We got into them because there was a huge need in India and other developing countries.
Today, Oralab is a self-sustaining, vigorously profitable enterprise. It produces over 200 products, including 2 million lenses a year, that are exported to over 130 countries around the world.
Dr. V, along with the founding team, have ingrained this thought that if somebody is blind in the world, it's the problem of this organization.
A global mission requires extensive collaboration. It primed Aravind to see allies in its competition. Today, the Lions Aravind Institute for Community Ophthalmology shares Aravind's best practices with hundreds of eye care providers all over India and in 50 other countries.
I feel like I'm part of Aravind. Aravind means a group of people fighting against needless blindness.
We give away completely whatever we do, from software to formats to patient flow, the processes and our financials, whatever specifics they need, we quite willingly share because this is for a public good and for a public work.
One recent example comes from Mexico.
Sala Uno is a social enterprise and we are replicating the model of Aravind in Mexico City. The founders of Sala Uno, they contacted Aravind, came here, studied the model, and started to create the business model in Mexico. So far, we have provided 12,000 cataract surgeries, and Aravind is just telling us what they have done well. They share the numbers, they share their strategies, and I feel that's the right way to do. Because when it comes to healthcare, it's a right. It's a human right.
There are three things which Aravind has been able to combine, which are very difficult and very rare to find together. One is the highest quality and excellence. One is the large number and the scale. And the third is the cost effectiveness. I believe that Aravind has been able to do this because of the spiritual foundation on which Dr. V created the entire Aravind initiative. This cannot be done purely at the level of the planning or having a high management degree or a great skill. It is, as he said, a thing of consciousness.
அவங்க நல்லா பார்த்தாங்க சரி நல்ல முறையாக நம்மளே நல்லா பார்த்து நல்ல முறையாக சொன்னாலா பொட்டாட்டு புரியாத பாடுபட முடியல அப்படின்னு சந்தோஷம் தானே பாடுபட்டா சந்தோஷம்.
Dr. V's mission of eliminating needless blindness has not been completed. I'm not even sure whether it will ever be completed. It's the journey, it's the constant aspiration to be able to reach every individual. And every act of yours, can you make it a little better? That thought process is what Dr. V has seeded in each one of us.
When you use this word Aravind in the community today, after 40 years of its starting, they correlate to somebody who has removed the darkness from us.